Alright, thank you for clicking on this video, and today what I'm going to share with you is something that we have been waiting for a very long time, which is Adobe XD support for Flutter. So let's get on with the video. In this tutorial, what we are going to go through is how we are going to make this app screen rendered into our simulator over here. So for example, if you select the artboard, export widget, you could see the home.dart file has been generated for us, and then we can type in home and we can import it like this and save this. You could see that our design has been created for us. And lastly, if you were to drag our image over here and type in the necessary parameters, and we export the image, and then we will export the widget itself, you could see that our image has refreshed successfully without us touching any code. That's so cool! So let's get on with this tutorial. So Team Sniff have created a Medium article to show that the Adobe XD support for Flutter has been released. So last year at the Flutter Interact event, they had some spotlights on this generative kind of artwork which is created by Flutter, courtesy by Robert Felker. And then today or yesterday, they have announced that the Adobe XD is available for the Flutter plugin. So for those who don't know what is Adobe XD, so Adobe XD is something like Sketch or Figma or Zeppelin, where designers are able to create their design. If you were to download Adobe XD, there's a free plan, and then they have its own XD tutorial at the bottom left corner. If you double click it, if you have worked with designers, they usually have this kind of art board. So to zoom in, you just command or control and scroll wheel, and these are the different artboards that maybe you have worked with when you are working with a designer. So the pain point of a designer to code is that usually the end product of the app doesn't look like the design that the designer has designed. That's a lot of design, but yeah, so that is one pain point that me and the designer have always faced, because designers always have that creativity where they are able to create very nice designs, but for us coders, there are some implications or maybe just lack of experience on how to create complicated designs and such. So with Adobe XD Flutter plugin, we are able to convert the design exactly to what the app is expected to look like. So this is just a snippet of how the Flutter plugin looks like. So if you were to highlight everything, there is this export widget button and then export all widgets. Alright, so let's get started by exporting Flutter code from Adobe XD. So first of all, you need Adobe XD, if not you can't do anything. Second is that you need to download Adobe XD Flutter package inside your Flutter project. So let's do that. So you go to the pubspec YAML file, and then for me I have this extension called pubspec assist. What it does is that it allows me to download any package according to the package name that I typed in. If I type in Adobe XD, it has inserted the Adobe XD package for me. So pubspec assist extension is pretty good. So let's save this. So let's go back to our Adobe XD. And the next thing is that make sure you have opened up your Adobe XD tutorial, and today we are going to export this whole screen into our project. Before that, let's install the plugin. Make sure that your Adobe XD is the latest version, because XD to Flutter plugin requires the latest version. So in order for you to install the plugin, open up the XD tutorial and it will look something like this. Maybe it will start like this. Then make sure you zoom in by either Command or Control plus all the way, and make sure that you have your home screen over here. The next thing is that at the top left, you see the word plugins. Click on the plus button, and this is the plugins browser. Now you can search for the Flutter plugin. Press enter. And then you could see there are different Flutter plugins, but the one that we're looking for is the last one, XD to Flutter plugin. So double click on it. And now you can just install it. I've already installed it. And make sure to give a rating. So once you install it, under your plugins, you'll see XD to Flutter plugin. Click on it and you can click on a UI panel. This opens up a menu of what is needed to be inserted. The first thing is that you could see Flutter project. So what we can do is we can select a project path that we have. So for me, I have a Flutter project called Adobe XD tutorial. You can just point it to the project that you want it to install. Let's open it up. And now it has our file path inserted under our Flutter project. Now we can actually have this whole code to be exported inside our app. What you can do is you can command and click, and you could see that this artboard has been selected over here. Now we are just going to export this widget or this whole screen into our Flutter project. So click on export widget, and if you were to go back and click on your file explorer, you could see that there is this thing called home.dart under your library folder. So click on home.dart and you could see that it has generated our screen. So they have also nicely commented what group or what shape it is referring to. So for example, it has a layer that's called 2 hours ago. So basically this is just a text widget with the font family Helvetica and whatnot. So this whole widget is a home widget. So let's import the home widget and let's see the final results. We save this and ta-da! Our first iteration of our app design has been inserted in our Flutter project. However, there are certain things that we need to fix or debug. So the first thing is that you could see under your debug mini menu, there is a error or warning. So if I were to continue, you could see the error. It says unable to load asset. So there are some images that we haven't loaded inside our app. If we were to go to home.dart and we find image, you could see that our asset image is blank. So that's the first thing that we are going to debug, is we are going to insert the image that's missing inside our current design. So for XD, there is this thing called group. It is pretty normal for designers to group stuff together. So for example, in the bottom of the screen, there is this image of the mountain. However, this is a group that have been grouped by the designer. So what you need to do is that you have to ungroup them. So you can have the shortcut Command-Shift-G, or you can right click and just ungroup them. So once you ungroup them, you can actually select the different text over here. And you can also select the image. So also at the same time, put the preview hot reload on save watcher into true. If you were to go to the Adobe XD to Flutter plugin GitHub page and you scroll all the way down, it will tell you what you need to set up, and there is this hot reload that we can use. So there's this preview hot reload on save watcher, which is what is over here. So we have to set it in our VS Code. So go to your settings and type in save watcher and just tick it over here. If you know how to go to the settings.json, then you can set this as true. So what this does is it allows us to perform our hot reload outside our VS Code basically. So we're going to do that later on. Okay, so once we select the image, there is this image export name and image parameter. The image export name is the name of the file that we want it to name. And the image parameter is the variable that we want to name inside our Flutter project. Alright, before that, if you were to click on the Flutter plugin and select maybe outside of the artboard, there is this thing called image path. So this means that it will export our image according to this image path over here. Then you could see our code path over here. It says library. So that means any widgets that we are generating will go to the library folder. And then for our image, if we want to export any image, it will go to this default assets images path. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to create this folder called assets images. So you can go to your terminal inside your VS Code. Make sure it is inside your current project. And then you can make a folder, type mkdir, and let's create the assets folder. And then let's mkdir, and let's type in assets, let's type in images. So if you were to go to your file explorer, you could see that your assets has your images folder inside. The next thing is that under pubspec YAML, we have to initialize our assets image path under our Flutter project. So what you need to do is that you have to uncomment these assets and images over here. And then the next thing is to type in the word assets dash images and press dot. So what this means is that any images that you are using inside your Flutter project, it is all inside the images folder. So let's save this. Now we can export. So let's call this mountain. And for the image parameter, you can type in mountain. And then you can export the image. So you could see that export image mountain.jpg is successful. If you were to go to your file explorer, and if you were to go to your images folder, our mountain.jpg has been exported. Great. Now let's click on this artboard and let's export the widget again. And if you were to go back, like I say, it paused. So let's continue. And you could see that our mountain.jpg image has been exported and inserted for us. That's great. So if you were to go to home.dart, and if you scroll up, you could see that there is this asset image that we have been exported called mountain.jpg, and then our parameters called mountain has been inserted for us. The next thing is that there is an image missing over here. So there is this image that is missing inside our Flutter project. So maybe you can give it a try and see how it goes. Alright, so the answer is, like I said earlier, you can ungroup them. You can just command and click the image over here. You could see that the image has been selected. So the same thing is that you can just type in the name of the image. So I'm going to call it track. And then let's export the image. So the image has been exported successfully. Click on the artboard and let's export the widget. One thing that I want to show is that there is these 4 warnings. You could see there's could not find assets entry in pubspec.yaml assets images. So that means we have already set it. And then could not find fonts entry in pubspec YAML. So there are fonts that we have to use, for example, the Helvetica. Then there are certain things that like ellipses and rectangles are only supported. So hopefully this extension will be supported in the future. Now you could see that our track has been exported for us without us having to manually code in anything. So you could see that our track has been inserted and then our track is over here. Great. Now there is one bug over here, which is this days, mile, cam and bears. If you were to just search for the word days, because of the grouping, if I were to change these days into, for example, 10, and if I save this, you could see that from this debugging, the word mouse is the same as the gray words below. So what we need to do is to ungroup them. So an advice is that if a designer were to give you an Adobe XD file, make sure you tell the designer to ungroup everything, because there will be UI bugs that we have to resolve. So if you were to go to the 10 days over here and you click it, you could see that this is a grid. So what you need to do is you need to ungroup the grid. Alright, and then this is over here another group. So you can just ungroup it. So just ungroup all of the text and such. So you can click on every one of them. You can hover over each text without the group rectangle being shown. Alright, so now if you were to export the widget again, and if you were to go back, you could see that our text has been rendered correctly. So we have 10 days, 160 miles, 5 camps, and 2 bears. Great. At the same time, you could see at the top, there is this notification bar. So we don't need this. We can just hide it. So you select this and you right click it and you can just hide it. And if you were to export widget, at the top there isn't the notification bar that we see. So the last thing that I want to show is that what if we want to just add an image? So we can just follow the tutorial inside our XD tutorial over here. So first you need to download the images needed for this tutorial. So if you were to drag all the way to the left, so you can just copy and paste this link and it will prompt you to download a zip folder that becomes a folder itself. And now we're going to insert the profile picture. So I have a tutorial image over here, and what it says here is that we need to drop the Tallinn image inside this circle over here. So if we were to drag it here, you could see that the image has been exported for us inside Adobe XD. So we can just name this guy as Tallinn and write Tallinn over here. So the first thing is that what we need to do is we need to export the image, and then let's export this artboard, and you could see that it refreshes for us. So that's pretty good. We don't have to touch any code. It will export for us the necessary code that will be rendered inside our app. This plugin is not perfect, but I think with more support and iterations, it will be a very good plugin for designers and coders like myself. One thing to take note is that you could see there is a lot of space, meaning that the artboard design has a specific width and height. So what you need to do is to make the width and height dynamic according to the screen size. But other than that, this looks fantastic. You can just try it out on your own and see how it goes. So that's about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want more of this video tutorial on Adobe XD, subscribe and comment down below on what is your favorite feature on this Adobe XD. Stay safe and all the best. Bye bye.